Well, that's like, I'm gonna turn it this way so I don't see two of me. That's a little weird. Michelle Nemechek, you're both live and in person right there. All right, here they come. They're starting to roll in. Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? We got some feedback there. That's going to be an issue. You know, those of y'all that are in here that are using your computers here, y'all are going to want to mute them probably. Yeah. So yeah. All right, Ashley, how you doing? Somebody's maybe her computer's open. You good, Ashley? Can you hear me okay?
I'm good. Yes, sorry, I can hear you.
Okay. There you go. Perfect.
Operator error.
All right. Oh, we probably need a mute. Probably, yeah.
Oh, you're hearing it through.
Computer. Okay, I just muted everybody except me. All right, so guys, y'all just hang with me. Those of you that are watching from home or from wherever, we're gonna be ready in just a minute. This is our first Zoom class, our first like dual Zoom and live class together. And I'm glad I like Michelle Nemechek so much because I've got her on her own iPad. I've got her on this right here, and she's sitting like 12 feet away from me right over there. So I see anything in front of me, I see Michelle like all over the place. So I can't get away from you today. All right. So we'll give everybody just another minute or so to get on. And Angie's ready? Okay, so everybody from home, I want y'all to know, if you don't know who Angie from Allegiance, it's really, it's probably why she picked the title company she works with. She said, you got to start with an A, or maybe was your name something different before you worked at Allegiance?
We won't tell you.
Okay, we won't do it. Okay, all right. So you can stand right over here. Y'all can probably hear her if she stands right here, but she's going to look right here at the camera. She's going to tell you all about Allegiance title.
All you see is my forehead because I'm short.
Right there. It's all you.
Hey guys, thank you so much for being a part of this. I really do appreciate you you tuning in to Chip's class today. And for those of you here in the room, thank you. You have food here. But I am Angie with Allegiance. So if I don't know you guys, I am the sales director for not just the Coppell office, but as well as for 20 offices that we have around the Metroplex. So wherever you have clients that are buying or selling, we have an office for you. And if you have not taken advantage of our services, I would love to see you all at the closing table sometime soon. During this kind of crazy pandemic that we have right now, we are being very precautionary in our offices. We are not allowing you in with your clients right now. It is just the customer. If you want to Zoom call in or conference call in, we can definitely do that with you. And we're not letting the mortgage brokers, loan officers in either. Again, we just want to keep everything, very safe for you. Everything's being sanitized on the hour. As soon as someone's in the conference room, everything is sanitized again. And we are requiring that folks wear a mask when they're in the office. So we are taking this seriously, just like you are. And if you guys have any questions regarding your title company, please feel free to give me a call or a text message or an email. I think most of you know how to get in touch with me, and if you don't, Chip certainly does and can reach me for you. So thank you guys so much, and I appreciate the opportunity to see you. This makes me feel normal again, that I'm actually seeing real people today and being involved in this, so thank you. I appreciate it, Chip.
Awesome, thank you, Angie. Give her a okay. So here's the deal, guys. For those of you that are watching on Zoom right now, or if you're watching it later, we're going to mute somebody here. We got a little feedback. And so if you're watching later, obviously, you're on YouTube, you're watching this some other time in the future. We got food in here. So here's the deal. What we're going to do, we've been like having no lunches, no live events, no live training. Are we good? Oops, excuse me. Sorry. Thank you. I'm trying to keep my eye on everything at one time. So Christy is helping me out. Thank you. Okay, so anyway, this is our first class back live for, I don't know, 2 months maybe, something like that, pretty close to it. And so what we're going to do with our training, we're going to be doing most of our training for a while, maybe forever, who knows. We're going to do it live in person and then also Zoom as well, and also have them recorded. So if you can't watch at the particular time we're doing the class, you can pick it up later on YouTube. So, however, but for the folks who made it live and in class, got to see Angie in person, we've got lunch. So you're going to see some of your folks here. They're going to get up and lunch was running just a few minutes late. So they're going to get up and walk over and make them a sandwich and make you jealous if you had to go out and pay for your lunch, because they didn't have to. And I'm going to ask somebody who likes me to make me a little salad too, because I heard there's fried chicken and grilled chicken. And so just give me whatever you want, and I'll eat that after the class. So I appreciate it. Oh, Debbie's coming to my class, huh? Come on in, Debbie. Just get away from the lunch unless you're coming into my class. That's my only rule. Okay? All right. Thanks, y'all. Okay, so you guys, you can go ahead and get started. I'm going to do a little introduction, so y'all help yourself if you want to. It'll be fine. So anyway, I appreciate you guys tuning in today. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn on the PowerPoint, too, so you can see my screen. Make sure I've got everything going here. Oh, and somebody has still got feedback there. I'm not sure who's not muted. Let's see. Okay. All right, all my Zoom folks, you can see the slide there that says Teams, etc. Okay, let's just go ahead and get this going like this. All right, perfect. I think we're getting it. All right. Tammy, does that look good? Do you see the Teams picture? You see that? Does it look perfect? Give me a thumbs up if we're good there.
Yes, I do.
All right, perfect. Okay. Thank you. I figured we were good, but like I said, I'm juggling a few new elements. If y'all remember, now this is going to really show my age, because I know some of you guys are not my age, but and this is going to sound ridiculous. It's a ridiculous example, but if you were around my age and you were, I remember the first time in like, I don't know, 1990 or 91, first time I was in a vehicle driving, and it was a car phone. We didn't call them cell phones or mobile phones, we called them car phones because they were mounted to the car. And I was working for a company that had a car phone, and the phone went off and rang. And I had to go down and pick it up and answer it. And I'd never done that while I was driving. And all of a sudden I realized, you know, it's like the whole pat your head and rub your stomach kind of thing. I didn't know how to do that. And I felt like a real idiot because I thought I was going to drive off the road because it was confusing doing two things at once I'd never done before. So I'm kind of having that same experience right now with all these different things, but I'm confident it'll be like, then I could like turn on the radio, change the channels, all that stuff all at one time. So anyway, we're going to figure out all this and do great. By the way, Liz is also in here. She's taking notes because she's going to be teaching an awesome class on addenda coming up here in a few days. So you're not going to want to miss that either. Okay, well, we'll dive in. So today's class, this is not really a class in the traditional sense of training you how to do your real estate business. This is about how teams work. And this is one of those topics, one of those subjects that a lot of people have questions about. So sometimes they don't realize what their questions should be. They dive right in, they're excited, they love the people they work with. And like if this was Liz and I, and Liz had a team, and I have a new agent here, and I'm like, I could go to one of her classes, and I'm like, man, she is awesome. And then if I found out she had a team, and then I'd maybe walk up to her one day while we're getting a lunch or something, and I say, hey, Liz, are you looking for anybody else to join your team? Because God, every class I go to, I learn so much. And if she said, yeah, well, I'd love to do it. Let's sit down and talk about it. And Liz and I sit down and talk for like 10 or 15 minutes. And man, we are just like peanut butter and jelly. I mean, we just go together great. It is just feeling awesome. And she says, well, why don't we do it? And let's make a team. And then all of a sudden we do that. And we really didn't talk about a whole lot. It was just like a whole personality thing that we just gelled. And then maybe, I don't know, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months down the road, we find out little things about each other, the way we work, you know, the expectations maybe we didn't discuss up front. And then all of a sudden we got a little drama on our hands because we didn't talk about some things in the beginning that we should have. Now, if what I just described there, if you thought, well, how ridiculous is that? I would never do that. Well, I hope you wouldn't, but let me tell you, you'd be an exception to the rule, because I know Liz would agree with me on this. That's what almost every team does, especially in the beginning. It's about two people that get along and like each other, and we're going to be like family. We're going to take care of each other. But you know, sometimes in families there's divorce, and when the divorce happens, it gets all over everybody around them. So we want to help prevent some of those things, and so that's what our class is about today. Okay. So we are going to dive right in. So we're going to have slides through most of this. We are going to have time for questions. What would be helpful throughout the class, and I get talking loud, I guess it gets a lot of feedback. What I would like you to do is when you, throughout the class, throw your questions in the chat section of Zoom, and we will hit on all those before we get done. But if we can keep on rolling and not have to slow down too much throughout the class, that'll be great. And of course, we've got a few people here live in the room. And so you guys, when we get to that point, you guys can pepper me with questions too, and we'll answer them together. Okay, so let's just dive right in. So we are going to cover, here's what all we're going to cover. Okay, this is me. There we go. Everybody sees that slide. All right, so today, here's the things we're going to cover. Why does an agent create a team? Why? That'd be a good thing to answer. Why should an agent join a team? Why should I consider joining a team? How are the teams at KWDFW Preferred unique? How do the teams in our office differ from one another? Thank you very much, Kristen. What are common mistakes agents make regarding teams? I just kind of gave you one of them. And if I'm interested in joining a team, what's the next step? So these are the things that we're going to cover today. So let's just go through these one by one. First off, why does an agent create a team? And right there, we have this great book. Maybe you've heard of it. Sometimes we call it the Red Book. But it's the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And if you want to look on page 158, it tells you right there. Why does an agent create a team? Leverage. This is from a guy you might have also heard of, Gary Keller. He says, you do all you can do. You go as far as you can go. You get all the results you can. And when you can't go any further, you look for help. And this help should come in the form of a talented person. Right there, page 158 of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. So that's what Gary has to say about why creating a team. So if you're watching today, or maybe in the past you've created a team, started one, I'm sure this is part of your reasoning. Some of those things might have applied. You might have had some other reasons as well, but this is really the key reason why you want to start a team. Now, next question, why should an agent join a team? So we were just talking about the team leader. Sometimes, by the way, we call them a rainmaker. So throughout the class, if you hear me use the word team leader, I'm not talking about like my job here, but leader of a team or rainmaker. Those are really interchangeable terms, so it could go use either one. So, but this would be for an agent joining a team. Why should an agent join a team? This is a very important question. And what do you know? It's the exact same thing for leverage. As an individual agent on your own, you do all you can do. You go as far as you can go. You get all the results you can get. And when you can't go any further, you look for help. This help should come in the form of a talented person. So some of the misconceptions about why joining a team, there's a lot of sub-reasons, smaller reasons that we may come across. But I know sometimes an agent may say, well, I'm new. I just joined real estate. I just started my real estate career. I just completed some training, and I still don't feel confident. I don't know what I need to do. And so I'm thinking, if I've got somebody like Liz or like Christy or whoever, you name the person who you respect and admire, and if they have a team, you might think, I want to attach myself to them because that'll help me be more confident. Okay, well that is a reason. Or maybe you're not confident yet in your ability to generate leads, and you find out there's a team that has an abundance of leads. You're like, yes, I would love to be with them because they have leads, and that's what I'm talking about. That's the part that scares me. Okay, that could be a reason too, but leverage is the reason. And this is part of it. It's like a symbiotic relationship. So it's not like the team leader or the rainmaker is not a boss. Okay, now it's kind of like the quarterback of a team. They get to call the plays, but at the end of the day, they're no valuable to any other player on the team. They just kind of get to touch the ball every play, and so we seem to think of them as at a higher level. But if they don't there's not people blocking for the quarterback, or if there's no one to throw the ball for him to throw the ball to, it really doesn't matter. So everyone on the team is important. So I want you to look at your Millionaire Real Estate Agent book sometime at page 202. So this right here, this is what's been around, I believe, 2001, 2002 is when this book came out. So we're getting close to 20 years of having the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And this is the model when we talk about 7 levels. Probably y'all have heard us talk about a 7-level team. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. This is what we've had for nearly 20 years now. as our model for building a team. And it's been a really good model, but just like everything else, and like especially right now, we're seeing in with all the changes we're going through this year that that everything changes, everything evolves. And so I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, they said, you know what, it's time for us to write volume 2 or version 2 of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And so they started on that several years ago. And then Gary said, you know what, we're gonna have to set that aside for a minute. And when I say a minute, I'm talking like 4 or 5 years, because we're going to focus on some technology that is time sensitive. So Millionaire Real Estate Agent version 2 is in the process of coming out. Don't have the information, what the dates are. But one of the reasons I'm telling you this now in this class is because they did already put the models together of what teams have how they've evolved and how they look different. So right there, that page you see right there on 202, that's been the traditional model. That's been what a lot of us, when I was a new agent and starting my team, this is kind of the format I used. Things have been tweaked slightly. So we're going to go over that, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I want to go through this because some of you may have never seen this before, and it just helps you understand the different things about teams that you may not have considered yet, okay? So this slide right here shows us, there we go, the first level, what we call one team. And so that's you. Now you may think, well, how am I a team if I'm an individual person? Well, you are. Obviously, you're a team. Like Angie is part of your team. If you utilize her and her title company as part of your team for marketing, for closings, your team are your vendors. Your team are your support people around you that help you work. So even as an individual agent, you still, in the sense of running your own business, and you don't do everything by yourself. I've used the example all the time. If you went to New York City and you went down to the corner and there's a guy down there selling hot dogs. Well, the hot dog guy, he probably got up that morning, like earlier than anybody else, and got all his stuff together, went down to the store or market or wherever, and he bought all the hot dogs and the buns and the ketchup and the mustard and relish and all that stuff, and he loaded up his cart, and then he rolled out his cart at whatever time he does that. And when he's done, he rolls his little cart back home and calls it a day. Now that is a one-person operation. He really doesn't have a team. But we know in real estate, we don't operate a business like that. We have people all around us. We can't do anything by ourselves. So first level, you technically are a team. Now, let's talk about where we grow from there. So technically after that, you go to a second level team. And the first individual you want to bring into your team is your administrative support. So we might just call them an admin. So this is one of those mistakes. I told you earlier about what are mistakes agents make. A lot of time, two agents, they're BFFs, they really like each other, and they say, we should work together because you know what? Both our kids go to the same school, and my kid's in sports, and your kid's in drama, and their schedules are different. So when your kid has to practice football, I can go out and show clients. And when your kid's going to drama class or whatever, I can go take care of the clients. And so we can help each other, and that way we got it all figured out. And they just, go and have coffee or wine or whatever they drink, and they figure all this great plan out with really no business plan behind it. It's just they're going to work together. Well, that's not really a team. That's really just two agents working together and helping each other out, which is awesome, but that's not really a team. If you're wanting to build a team, the first thing you do is get that first admin. And that admin could be doing a lot of different things. That's subjective. Part of it might be a contract to close portion of the team or the office, and that's going to be, once we go under contract, who manages the file all the way to closing. It might be new listing support. When we get a new listing, who takes care of the photography, the lockbox, the yard sign, gets all the data, puts it in MLS, room measurements, et cetera, et cetera. It might be that. It might be a marketing component. It might be all our social media, all our print marketing. There's all admin's very vague, but it can be kind of whatever you want it to be in the beginning, because as a single agent, you're like, I can't lead generate and go on all my appointments right now and do everything I need to do without some help. So that would be number one. Not an agent, but an admin. All right, second level, then you go up to the third level. And is this where you add an agent? Not yet. No, not yet. This is actually where you bring in your second admin. Now you're more clearly defining the role of what your admins are going to do. And ideally, you see the color of the admin change. So first we had the admin there in that green-blue color. And now that actually becomes the transaction coordinator, and you got your lead admin. So one of the things that we're going to talk about here in the models is you as the team lead or the rainmaker, let's say you want to, one day you build this out and you've got a team of, say, 10 people on your team. Do you want 10 different people reporting directly to you? And I know y'all are on Zoom. I can't see all your faces right now, but my folks in here are getting some shaking head nodding or shaking their head back and forth. That's correct. In fact, Gary Keller himself, the guy who happens to be the CEO of the largest, most profitable real estate company on the planet, he says no one person should have more than 4 to 5 people reporting directly to them. That's how he's got his entire organization set up. So if you have a team and you've got 4, 5, 6 agents plus 2 or 3 admin plus maybe someone else, and they're all reporting to you, you're doing it wrong. You need to have multiple layers in there, because you as a person, you can't be fielding and giving all the support you need to everybody. You got to have layers of that. So we're going to start right here when you get to the 3rd level, and that transaction coordinator is going to report to the lead admin. Now, in a lot of cases, that's a promotion, basically. So the lead admin, the person who was the original admin, probably ideally went out and hired this person who is now the transaction coordinator, because they're going to be the ones supervising them. Okay, and you as the agent, you're like, hey, I've put my trust in you, Mr. or Mrs. Admin, do your thing, find the person that's going to help you, and I'm going to still go out there and start crushing it, or keep on crushing it, building my business, okay? So there's that level right there. Now we go to the 4th level. And this is 4th level, part 1. Now this is where things get a little different in this new updated model versus the one we've had for years. And this is where now we have what's called an OSA or an ISA. That's an outside sales agent or inside sales agent. And we've got a showing assistant. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, here in our market center in Capel, I don't know if we've got anybody doing this model like this right now. And again, this is the model that's in the book. I'm not saying this is the way it must be. I'm just saying this is a generalized model of a formula you can use, okay? So don't look at me and come up to me later and go, Chip, how come all these teams aren't doing it? They must be doing it wrong if they're not following the model. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this is an ideal model going forward to build a very big business if you want to. So the OSA or the ISA, this is the person really who is setting appointments for the agent on the team. So imagine that. I mean, I think about myself. If I wasn't doing some of the things I'm doing right now, let's say for whatever reason, I just uprooted and I moved to another part of the country I've never lived in. Let's say I moved to Miami, Florida, just picking a place. And I want to be a real estate agent, but I'm new to the area. I don't know anybody. But I've been in real estate for many years. I'm really good at it, but I'm in a new state, get a new license, all that kind of stuff. And I find a team that says, Chip, look, we just need really good agents that can really connect with people and know how to negotiate and are solid with their contracts. And we've already hired some inside or outside sales agents that are going to go generate the leads, because honestly, they are great at getting the appointment set, but they're not so great at all the follow-up. And I really wouldn't want them touching a contract. And, there's just a lot of things that are not their strength, but you've got that. So this is where a team where we do things together. And like at my level right now, if I needed to relocate and start all over from scratch, and I could walk into a new market and have a team that said, look, we can get you, between 7 to 10 appointments a week. We just need a solid agent to run with it. I'd be like, I'll take it. I'll totally take that. Okay. So if you have a team right now, this might be something that's maybe blowing your mind right now, but this might be something for you to aspire to at some point. Because think about it. How attractive would your team be when you're trying to attract talented agents to your team and you say, look, we expect everybody to lead generate, but I actually pay somebody right now to generate leads. So you've got someone you walk in the door, you just pick them up and run with it. Okay. Similarly, the showing assistant, this would be somebody whose primary task, and it can vary a little bit, but typically they're the ones when the appointment is set. This is on the buy side, not on the listing side. They would be going out with the pre-qualified buyer and doing the property searches, taking them on showings. And, and they're going to get really good at that process. And part of it isn't like they're really good at knowing how to open up a Supra or really good at knowing how to carry a can of mace or something like that. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about they are really good at having a buyer consultation. So they're not showing 40 properties to somebody. Like within 4 to 6, maybe 7 or 8, but definitely not into double digits of showing property, because they communicate so well on the front end because this is all they do. They're getting very efficient at the one part of the job they have. So here's another example I want you to use. So you remember a few minutes ago, I gave you the hot dog vendor example, being a one-man operation doing his thing. Imagine we're not in, quarantine right now. Imagine all the restaurants are open at 100% capacity, and you go to your favorite restaurant. I'm going to pick on Michelle Nemechek because she told me she's going to be here. Where's the first like real restaurant you want to go to once you know that you can get in and have a great dinner? Okay, so Michelle says Chuy's, and man, my mouth's going to be watering for the rest of the day thinking about that. Thanks a lot. So let's say we go to Chuy's, and we pull in the parking lot. The park's probably going to be packed. And what are we going to do first? Who's the first person we're going to talk to? I don't know if y'all can all hear her well at home, but tell them to speak out loud. Who's the first person from Chuy's we're going to talk to? Okay, so we're going to talk to the hostess, and they're going to either take us to a table or put our name on the list. And then when they get ready to take us to a table, who are we going to talk to? The server, the waiter, the waitress. They're going to take our order, and let's say we order a couple of margaritas, and I don't know if they're using a ticket or a electronic thing or whatever, but then what are they going to do eventually? Hopefully they're not too slow. They're going to go to where to get our margaritas? Okay, so are they going to hop over the bar and make our margaritas? Bartender's going to make our margaritas. So we talked to the hostess, the server, and the bartender. Okay, cool. So then brings our margaritas back. They're ready to take our order. We order fajitas or enchiladas or whatever we order, and they're going to take that order back to somewhere around the kitchen. Now, is he going to run around back and start, throwing the chicken on the grill and all that? Our waiter? No. Okay, so let's just get, how many people are going to be involved in actually preparing our food? 3, 4, 5, something like that. So multiple people. So we had 3 in the beginning: hostess, server, bartender. Let's say we double that to 6, maybe 7 people. Okay, so they come and bring our food. The waiter checks on us. We're doing great. Maybe we get dessert. All that's fine. They're probably clearing our table, as we finish up our dinner. But then after we get up and leave, we had a great experience. We get up and leave, and I don't know specifically at Chuy's, all restaurants are a little different, but they might have a guy who goes around and wipes off the tables and cleans them up, call him a bus boy. So they might have a bus boy there. So there's maybe 9 people. And oh, by the way, those dishes we ate on is Tammy the hostess. Sorry, Tammy, didn't mean to pick on you. I just saw your name. Is Tammy the hostess going to run back there and wash our dishes for us? No, there's going to be somebody else back there washing the dishes. So we've had probably at least 9, 10, 11, 12 people involved in our dinner experience. Oh yeah, the manager, yeah, who walks around and looks busy and, and asks why everybody hasn't cleared their tables faster. Yeah. So, okay, we'll say 12, 13, I don't know, maybe 15 people. So you see, that's kind of like a real estate team. Okay, so now if it runs well like a well-oiled machine, and we didn't have to wait too long for our food, and it was delicious, no complaints, and we could definitely go tell all our friends, you need to go there because they're awesome. That's what we want in our real estate teams. We want our teams to function like that. And so like that showing assistant model right there, that showing assistant, you might say, well, that's kind of like the bartender or maybe the hostess. They've got one role that they perform. Now there's sub roles under that, but there's really one function they're going to perform over and over and over multiple times. Whereas the individual agent, and there's nothing, by the way, I'm not pro individual, pro team. I'm just telling you how it is. The individual agent has like a list of like 200 different things they need to do when they are working with a client. And then of course the things they do outside of directly working with a client. But a well-oiled machine that's a team that does all these different things, what they're doing is you get specialized. So you tend to get really good at the things that you do because you do them repeatedly over and over. And I've been in food service before, and I know that, and I've trained people that when like the very first time, I'm talking, if any of you guys have been in food service, you know what that's like. The very first time you're working, with the trainer, the other server right there beside you, and you say, yeah, go up to the table and ask them what they want to drink. And I promise you, I don't care how confident somebody is, they always walk up real nervous and go, hi, what would y'all like to drink? And he just feels awkward all over the place because they're scared. Now, by the end of that shift, like 6, 7, 8 hours later, they feel great. And by the time they get like to the end of their week of training, they're like strutting up to the table. They're acting like they've done it for a million years because they do it a lot of times every day at work. So that's kind of what a team can do to give a great customer service experience in real estate as well. So that's 4th level, part 1. And then we go to part 2, and look, our circles are getting bigger. You can see we're adding to the team now. So now on the admin section, you can see we've got, does that cursor? No, you don't see it there. So you can see the listing manager now is part of the kind of the core admin team there. You see over there on the right side now, your buyer side, you got a lead buyer's agent and a second showing assistant. And then still over on the listing side, you've got a lead manager who's working directly with the OSA and ISA. Moving on up to part 5. Now we've clearly got a director of operations. Again, that's really an admin function. And then over there, you see the other blue circle over on the listing side. We've separated the OSA. And the OSA outside, when you might say, what are the differences between two? OSA is somebody who's going out. They are part of networking groups. I mean, they're face-to-face. They're networking groups. They're, Chamber of Commerce. I mean, it could be anything. It could be church groups. I mean, they are the people that just, they go into the gas station to get a Coke and they walk out with 4 leads because they just talk to everybody, I mean, those are the people that have that gift of gab. The ISA are the people that are highly scripted. And, if you ask them, hey, what kind of headphone do you use when you're doing your, they tell you, they know all about them because they run through them about once every 6 months and change them out. Because that's all they do. They're just, I don't want to say telemarketer because that's kind of a bad connotation. But I mean, they're the people that have no problem sitting in a room with no windows for 12 hours and just cranking calls all day long. And there's a lot of people that's not your thing. I'll be honest, that's not really my thing. But some people, believe it or not, they love that. That's where they're at. And if you ask them to talk to 3 people in person at the gas station, they would say, no way. Or they would be kind of jerks about it. And you wouldn't want to do that. So anyway, it's about finding people's talents and skills and putting them in the right spots for those. Now, part 2 of this, now we've actually got the listing agent where you as the rainmaker, you're no longer going to be the head listing agent. You're actually going to delegate that out to somebody else right there at 5th level, part 2. 6th level, part 1, now we are talking about expansion. And I know we don't have anybody in our office doing that, but that is something that's kind of become more common among really large teams in the last 5, 6, 7 years. And there's really 3 different kinds of expansion we see. We see local expansion, we see regional, and we see national expansion. Now, local expansion can't happen in every market because every market is not that big. And it may be kind of hard for us to conceive of because we're in Capel. And like geographically, we are almost like right dead in the middle of DFW. But let's say we were out in Rockwall. Let's say we were at KW Rockwall or maybe KW McKinney or Salina. We're kind of out on those outer fringes. And I don't know if you guys all know this, but like I know out west of Fort Worth, but near Aledo, between Fort Worth, Aledo, and Weatherford, there's a big, massive piece of land out there called the Walsh Ranch, which is a family ranch for 1 million years. Not 1 million years, but anyway, a family ranch. And about 10 years ago, they finally started subdividing it and putting, doing new construction out there. And that is like the hot place in the west side of Fort Worth is Walsh Ranch. So let's say you're in Rockwall, that's where your business is, that's the market center you're in, but you're like, I want a presence in Walsh Ranch. Well, you could stay in Rockwall and you could drive like, 2 hours sometimes just to get, it should take, like in the middle of the night, you could do it in probably 45 minutes, but during the day, it would take you forever to get there. Or you might call up the team leader in West Fort Worth or in Weatherford and say, hey, I think I would like to have an expansion team over in your market center, still part of Keller Williams, and we're going to administratively run the hub out of our home base, our hub back in Rockwall, but we need agents with a presence on that side of town because we want to make our name known in Walsh Ranch. And so that would be an example of a local expansion team. What we see more often, though, is the regional, and we see quite a bit of that here in DFW, where they'll have an agent like KW, obviously, they're in Austin.
For absolutely no reason, and we even had 197.
Okay, we're going to mute somebody. Not sure who that is. Y'all can all hear that. We're going to make sure everybody's muted. Okay, sorry about that, y'all. And so anyway, regional then. So maybe in Austin, where KW is located, like they've got obviously a lot of great agents there. We'll see agents. They may say, you know what, we want to have a presence in Houston or a presence in Dallas or Lubbock or whatever. And obviously that we can do a lot out here in Texas because our state is so big. But even regionally, you could consider New Orleans maybe or Oklahoma City. You could cross state lines. Of course, that gets a little more complicated because you got to know new state laws, licensing. But that would be regional. And then, of course, obviously national would mean, you're across the country. Like Ben Kinney, who pretty much everybody knows Ben Kinney. He's basically in Washington State, but he's got a network of expansion teams all over the country. So, and there's a handful of really, really huge teams. So anyway, I'm not trying to promote any of that today. I'm just telling you, if you wondered what expansion is, that's what that is. So you see back on the chart, that's what expansion teams look like. Then go to the part 2 on that. Now you've got a director of expansion who's overseeing your expansion business. You can see you've got a couple of new green circles there. And then finally, we're up to the 7th level. And this is where you, as the rainmaker, the team lead, you are pretty much out of the day. Well, not pretty much, you're out of the day-to-day functions. You are clearly handing off the CEO role to your most trusted person you've got in your organization, which is now very large. And you're doing whatever you want to do. You may be pursuing new business opportunities that you can have in addition to your real estate business, or you could be laying in a hammock under a tree with the drink of your choice and a little umbrella in it and just enjoy the fruits of your labor that you work so hard to build, whatever. So I wanted to take you through that. Not that I'm trying to drive anybody into that role, but I wanted you to see if you ever want to have something big like that. And I know probably for most of you guys that are watching right now, you may be thinking, Chip, slow down. That is not what I'm here for today. I get it. But do you see, let's go back to the very first steps, the first level, the second level. We want to do things within a model, or certainly as close to the model as we can, because if we don't, we're putting a limit on our growth, and we don't want to limit anything that we do. So we want to have those options available for us down the road, okay? So thank you for your patience as we took that journey. By the way, you can get all this. If you want any of these copies, I can send them to you. I've got them up in my office, and they're also on KW Connect, but if you have trouble finding them, just shoot me an email and I'll send them to you as well, okay? All right, moving on. The next question we're going to talk about, should I consider joining a team? So those of you that are not here to be a rainmaker or start a team, you're looking to maybe joining a team, or at least you've got questions about it. Well, let's look at some of these questions first. So here's the questions I would encourage you to ask yourself if you're thinking about joining a team. Do I have a need to control everything? Now, some of y'all I know some of y'all were in my DISC class a couple of months ago that I taught. And if you're familiar with DISC and you know DIS or C, DISC, which one is your, where you fall, it's not that you can't have a particular personality style and join a team. You just need to have an awareness. So for example, if you have a strong D personality, which I've got a lot of D in my personality, it's not that I wouldn't have, like I told you the example, if I went to Florida and joined a team, it's not that I couldn't do that, but like whoever that leader of that team is, that rainmaker, we would need to have a really good, honest, upfront conversation, because there could be a tendency to step on toes, or for me to think, okay, I've been here for a week, I think I got a better way, let me take it and run with it. So if you're thinking about joining a team, just ask yourself, do I have to control everything? If you've been an individual agent where you've had to do everything, are you willing to be open to the fact that maybe somebody else has a better idea because they've already built an organization? Hopefully you're going to add to that, but you got to ask yourself, do I have to have everything my way? Like, does my face have to be on everything, on every sign? So if I'm joining Chris Collins' team and I say, well, that's great, Collins, I want to be on your team, but I want to put my face on everything. I mean, look at who would want to buy from this, you know? And that might be an issue if I'm going to join somebody else's team. Maybe, maybe not. Okay, next question. Can I work well with others? We've talked a lot about collaboration. Am I teachable and coachable? That's pretty important. This is a good one. This is one of those things, this next one, that people just skip right over. I see it all the time. And this is one of those like, hey, let's just slow down, go through the process, ask some good questions. Will my integrity, my loyalty, and my standards complement the team? Now, you may be asking yourself, what? You think I don't have standards and loyalty and integrity? I'm sure you do. But let's just make sure your version of that and the team you're joining, that y'all are, in alignment. Y'all got a good fit. Y'all see things the same way, because, two people, I mean, I think all of us would say we have integrity, but, there's black and there's white and there's a lot of gray. And, we're talking like maybe 50 shades of gray. So like, which shade are you comfortable with? Which one is your team comfortable with? Or does it need to be black and white on every single issue, no questions asked? So that's a good question to have. Next question, will my team create leverage which will benefit my life? A lot of times we start with the financial piece of this, but what other things could be important other than just the financial part of it? So I'm going to pick on the awesome studio audience I have here in the room. So how would leverage benefit my life? And I'm going to give you a hint, like quality of life. I dangled it out there, made it real easy. So what do y'all think? It's about time, correct. So, like, Does every real estate agent have to work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day? Okay, so if you're joining a team, that's a really good question to have to talk about of what are your expectations. Because I know for me, if I were joining a team and if they said, look, if you're going to be on our team, every agent on our team, or at least every agent in this role that you're providing, that you're going to be working with, Chip, every one of these agents is expected to hold an open house every Saturday and Sunday without exception. In our open houses, we do them 4 hours long, and we demand the signs be out by Friday night and must be picked up immediately after the open house, and you must go enter all your leads and smart plans by Sunday night before Monday morning gets, and these are the way these are our standards. And if you're like, whoa, okay, that's not like just a couple hours and go turning on some lights and hey, how you doing, and try to grab a few leads. This is going to be a full day's work. And you said like every Saturday and Sunday. I mean, surely I could, like when my kids in soccer season, like for 6 weeks. Nope, I mean every Saturday and Sunday. Okay, so now there are some hardcore teams that run that way. Okay, and I'm not shooting them down, but I'm just saying if that's not where you're living and not how you want to operate on the weekends, good conversations to have before you join the team. And finally, I love this question: how fragile is my ego? Again, that's kind of going back to having to have your face on everything. Can you, if you're part of somebody else's team, can you allow your identity when people say, who are you? Well, I'm a real estate agent. I'm a real estate agent. Oh, great. Really? Well, I haven't seen your name. Well, actually, I'm part of this team over here. And so because of that team, you've probably seen their name, but you may not be familiar with mine because it's their sign, it's their marketing, they're the postcards. And again, every team's going to be different on how they execute that. But you got to ask yourself, is that a factor? Because some people are going to have just different feelings about those kinds of issues. Okay. So let's move on. Teams, how is KWDAW Preferred unique? Well, here's what we have here. Then this is different than just about every other brokerage out there, and this is also different than a lot of other Keller Williams market centers. So let me give you a little bit of background on me. This is just, most of y'all know I used to work at South Lake before I came here. And at South Lake, my job, I was kind of the point guy for teams over there. So anybody wanted to join a team or create a team, their job was to come meet with me, and we sat down and kind of had a consultation to make sure, everybody knew what was going on. Well, over there, we had, when I left, we had 60 or 61 teams in the office, and then we had another 15 or so husband and wife teams, just husband and wife only. So we had roughly 75 teams in the office. Now, y'all all know that's a much larger market center, a lot of agents over there, over 600 agents. But that was a lot of people that I would talk to about this topic. And so a lot of these things we're talking about today are come from some of the things that I implemented over there because I had to, because there were so many people, I was outnumbered. I'm like, we got to get systemized on this, or I'm going to lose my mind trying to handle all this stuff, okay? Because if we didn't have some standards, everybody was shooting from the hip and doing their own thing, and you got exceptions over here and all this. Now, the beauty of Keller Williams system is you get to operate your business within a business. So it's not like all our teams need to operate exactly alike, but we do have some core standards that we all have to agree to, okay? And just in the few months that I've been here, the ALC and Liz and Bill and the rest of the leadership have worked with me. We have clarified some systems that were a little fuzzy before, okay? So we're gonna talk about some of those today. So we got requirements and standards, we got the interview and the vetting. Every team will have a written team agreement with an exit plan or an exit strategy. Now, you may say, what does that mean? Well, like I said earlier about marriage and divorce, well, just consider joining a team is kind of like the marriage. The written team agreement is the prenup, okay? Because unless you and your rainmaker die at the same time, like if y'all are in a tragic car accident and you both die, which I hope never happens, but we know we're all going to die at some point, and you're probably going to die at different times. So unless you die at the same time, there is going to be a separation at some point. Either someone's going to be asked to leave a team, or you're going to say, I've had it, take this job and shove it, I'm out of here. So there's going to be a separation and divorce at some point. It's not if, but when. And so we are up front, before we get too deep into these things, we want to have clearly defined expectations of what that looks like, such as any current business we're working on. What happens to that? How do the splits get paid out? What about leads that were obtained during the tenure of your time you were on the team? How does that work? What about going forward? If somebody I've been nurturing as a lead for 6 months or a year and they're not ready to buy, but today is the day I'm leaving your team, but they decide 6 months from now, then they're ready, but I put all this work into them. Do I get compensated for any of my work, or do I just have to let that go? Again, I'm not telling you what the rules are going to be, but those are some of the things you got to talk about and think about. So that's why we have that in writing up front. Then, of course, there's training we have. Like this is an example today of training on how to do teams. I promise you, there are so many brokerages out there that are not team friendly because so one of the things I brought up today is a lot of the headaches and hassles. I mean, I'm kind of trying to scare you a little bit to let you know that like this isn't all just sunshine and unicorns and everything. I mean, there's some difficult things to this, and a lot of brokerages, they don't invest the time like we're doing right now into this. They just go, man, teams are a headache. We tried that once like 9 or 10 years ago, and we just said, you know what, it's not worth it. We really don't want people doing teams because everybody eventually gets mad and gets angry, and then they all leave the brokerage and no one's happy. And so we do training on that. We've done it. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to do more of it in the future. And then, of course, there is an approval process. And I'm pretty much a pushover once we've actually gone through these first steps we talked about. Okay. All right. So now brace yourself. Those of you that like math and numbers is your kryptonite, just get psyched up. We're only going to do this for a couple of minutes, but I want to go over some numbers. It's not going to be that bad. And actually, what you see in front of you there, you should all be very familiar with this because this is what your Keller Williams independent contractor agreement had in it. So for those of you that are individual agents, this is what you have right now. As individual, you're essentially at 64% when you first start. I mean, 30% of that is what we call your company dollar. That's what funds our market center. That's what is paying for this computer I'm talking to you from, and the electricity and the air conditioning and all the great things about running this market center. And then the 6% royalty, we don't keep that here. That goes actually to Keller Williams Realty International down in Austin. And that's how Keller Williams, the company, earns their revenue. So y'all know we have a cap of $18,000. The royalty cap is $3,000. So for a total of $21,000. So y'all should all like you probably got a tattoo of that on you somewhere because you know that you got that down. You should know that, especially those of you cap every year, like you've known it for a while. Okay, so let's talk about what if you're not an individual but you're on a team. This is a member of a team. Okay. Team is going to be slightly different. It's going to be 74%. And how do we get to that? Well, it's only 20% of company dollar, not 30, and still 6% royalty. By the way, we have zero control over the royalty here, so don't come ask me for a favor on that. I can't control it. Okay, that's part of our franchise agreement with Keller Williams. But you do get you got a 10% bump that you're going to get a little bit more as an agent on a team. But let me tell you, this next part, that first blue line, the company dollar cap, look at that number right there. That is the big difference right there for you if you're a team member. $4,500, not $18,000, but $4,500. Now your royalty cap is still $3,000. We can't change royalty, but the total cap when you're on a team is $7,500. Now let's talk about that for a second. Let's say, so like for example, Karen, who works in our office, she's our MCA. She got a lot of jobs, but her primary job is to help you as agents get paid on time as quickly as possible. And she also has to make sure we have enough revenue to cover our expenses. So like these lights that are on right now, the air conditioning that's on, everything that we have to pay money for, we've got to make sure we've got the revenue to do that. Now, when I look at, I'm going to pick on Michelle Nemechek again. So I look at Michelle, and if all I was concerned about was money, I would say I would have an imaginary tattoo of $18,000 on Michelle's head. Because I'd be like, okay, every time she's good for a cap every year, I know having her here means I've got $18,000 coming this year that I can pay my bills with. If someone is on a team, I might say, well, they've got a tattoo of $4,500 across their head. I'm glad they're here, but man, I need 4 of them to make one Michelle if all I'm concerned about is paying the bills. But see, this isn't just about the revenue that agents bring to us. It's about finding solutions for every agent because all of us as agents are different. We all have different lives. We all have different priorities and needs. And it's about us all working together to get a fit so that we can all prosper and do better together. Now, the other part of why you might be thinking, why in the world is that so much cheaper? Well, obviously, if you're on a team, you are also splitting part of the commission with your rainmaker, with the team lead. So we've got to make it advantageous for you because if we had the same individual split and we didn't modify that at all, you'd be like, well, dang. Why in the world would I want to join a team? I got to pay KW all this money. I got to pay my team this money, and what's left for me is like this much right here. So, sequence of math, and I promise we're almost done with the math part. Sequence of a split, and let's just say easy math. let's say we sell a house for $333,000, which is just a little bit lower than our average sales price. Well, if I earned a 3% commission on a $333,000 house, you don't have to pull out your calculator. I know what it is. It's like 1 penny shy of $10,000. It's a whole bunch of nines in a row. So let's do this. Let's say it's an even $10,000. Okay, and let's say Liz has a team and I'm an agent on her team. I sell a house, and let's say, just again, for easy math, we're on a 50-50 split. So we get that $10,000 commission. Liz gets $5,000. I'm going to get $5,000. And the very first split that happens is between the two agents on the team. Now, I'm a team member in this example, and you see my cap at the right side of your page. You see those are the splits that I have. Liz, as the team owner, the team leader, the rainmaker, she's got her splits with Keller Williams, which are going to be different. And by the way, also, we have different anniversary dates more than likely. So one of us may be capped, depending on what time of the year it is. The other one may not. We may both be capped. We may both not be capped. I mean, it can be different for everybody. So if you're trying to calculate the math on this later, like after the class, and like, well, financially, what would this mean for me to be on a team? I need you to know that the very first split that happens is between the two team members, the lead, the rainmaker, and the agent. And then each person has like their own account with Keller Williams to determine what happens after that. Okay? So again, got questions on that, throw it in the chat. We'll come back to that in a few minutes. Now let's break this down. This is how our teams look here. I'm sorry, a few more numbers. I kind of lied, I guess, on the math, but this is the hard stuff behind us. So here's how teams work. And this is the first part there is kind of what I just showed you. In most cases, in our office, in most cases, we see $18,000 plus $3,000 equals 21 for the rainmaker. And then team members, like I just said on the previous slide, 4,500 plus 3,000 equals 7,500. Now, Keller Williams, you know, we're God and family first and then business. So family, in the sense of the split, is Keller Williams values the husband-wife relationship as one cap, meaning they share an $18,000 company dollar cap and a $3,000 royalty cap for a total of $21,000. So you got two people that are agents that are married, one cap. So I'm going to give a little plug here for recruiting for a minute. If you know any husband, wife, or maybe you know somebody at another brokerage who may be already an existing agent and you know their spouse has been considering getting into the business, this is the company they need to be at, because they get a benefit unlike any other. Like Liz and I may be friends and all, but you know, I'm married and she's married, but we're not married to each other. So we would get to have this kind of deal. So, but for husband-wife teams, and you know, we've got a few here in our office, this is a major advantage that they have. Now, the next one here, this is actually a new policy that we just put into place. ALC voted on this a couple of months ago. This is an immediate family member team. And if you can read the fine print there, immediate family. This is mother, daughter, father, son, or siblings. This is not in-laws and cousins and my cousin's cousin. And, you know, they're kind of, this is, we're talking like direct family, okay? We are going to honor a new form of a team, which includes the rainmaker at $18,000 plus a royalty, $3,000 for each person. Because again, Keller Williams International, we don't get to mess around with the royalty. Every person, unless you're a husband-wife team, has their own royalty. But we're going to allow that immediate family member to have a single $18,000 cap. And then if the team grows beyond that, adds additional team members, then they would also have $4,500 plus, of course, their royalty at $7,500 apiece. Okay? So again, we're on Zoom right now, so it's kind of hard to do questions, but anybody watching, throw the questions up and I'll come back to those as we move along. Okay? All right. Now, a couple of other policy updates that maybe, again, these are still kind of fresh. This is part of what the ALC voted on. So I know some of you guys are like listening to me and some of you are reading ahead. So I'm asking you to listen to me for just a minute. I'll leave the slide up. So one of the challenges that we need to have, you know, it's got to be a win-win. Actually, it's got to be multiple wins. It's got to be a win for the rainmaker. It's got to be a win for the agent joining the team. And it's also got to be a win for Keller Williams, the market center. So it's like win-win-win. Everybody needs to win in this relationship. And one of the things that is not our Keller Williams culture, not here and not other market centers, would be, so let's see, I want to you know what? There's people that are not watching and they're not in the room right now, and they should be. So because they're not here, I'm going to pick on them. I'm going to use some new names this time. So I'm going to, who do I want to pick on? I'll pick on Christy Green, because I know you can handle like Christy. So if this gets back to you, it's coming from below. Okay. So Christy Green's not in here, but she's got a great team. So let's say Christy Green has a team, and let's say Michelle Daniel, another person who's not here. Love you too. Okay, so let's say Christy Green and Michelle, you know, they're hanging out and, you know, they're talking, and Christy says, Michelle, how come you never asked about joining my team? I mean, I'm kind of offended because you'd be great on my team. Well, I never thought about that, but you know, I really, everything you're doing seems awesome, and I think we'd get along, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we talk and talk and talk, and all of a sudden they come and they say, guess what? We're going to team up together. Well, remember the win, 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 the 3 wins? That might be a win for Christy, and it might be a win for Michelle. But think about the math for a second. Who is that not a win for? KW. Because remember, both of those girls have an $18,000 tattoo on their forehead. Now what we're asking to do is get for Michelle and say, hey, we've got to get that removed. We've got to change that to a $4,500 tattoo. That's not really good for KW, okay? Especially, now, we love everybody, but we've got to do it. It's a business we're running too. So our policy is when a new agent, and by the way, in case y'all don't know, Christy and Michelle have both been here for years. So if some of you are newer, if you don't know who they are, you might be going, what's the big deal? Okay, they've been here for like many years. So that's why I'm called on those 2 people. But if you're a new agent that joins Keller Williams, within your first 6 months after joining, you may join a team, you may come in and you may have individual transactions right off the bat. And you can even cap if you're on a roll and do that. But if you decide, you know, because sometimes the reason we do this is a lot of times as a new agent, you don't know what you don't know. And I know in my case, when I was a new agent, my very first interview, the team leader interviewed me, said, Chip, do you want to be on a team or do you want to work as an individual? And I said, I don't even know how teams work, which is the question we get all the time. And so what we tell them is like, don't worry about it. We'll cover that later. Let's just get you in and get you start learning real estate. Because, you know, as a new agent, there is a lot of new information. So we want to take some of that pressure off of our agents to like have to have these sort of permanent answers with consequences in their first day, first week, first month. We want to give you some time to get in and learn the business because you just don't know what you don't know in the very beginning. So you come in, you get started. And then you decide after a few months, you know, you meet some of the agents, some of the people who have teams, maybe they're teaching a class, whatever, and you decide, I think I want to talk to them about their team. Well, 6 months is a window of time that we feel comfortable with that's going to be the policy. Again, ALC voted on this, but this is going to be the policy. We're going to say, we're really not going to ask you to make that decision within 6 months. If you make it right off the bat, like sometimes we got people who come here and on day one, they know they're joining this person's team. And that's great. That's awesome. We love it. But we don't want you to feel like you got to make that pressure right off the bat. So within 6 months, you join the team, and immediately, as soon as you join the team, you're going to get the benefit of that lower cap and that more favorable split with the office, 80-20 instead of 70-30. Now, let's say it's after 6 months, like 6 months and a day. Like, we're going to stick to this policy, y'all. Don't test me on it because you knew it was coming for 6 months, okay? So 6 months and a day, or a year, 3 years, or like Christy and Michelle, who have been here for like, I don't know, 13, 14, 15 years. If you've been here longer than 6 months and you decide, I want to join a team, that's great. We want to help you do that, but we want to show you a pathway to get there. It's not just going to be an instant snap of the finger and get the same benefit because, again, we're human beings. We're emotional. Sometimes we make decisions that regrets happen. You know, like I know that probably happens to none of y'all, but as a person who's made hasty decisions, like in the last 24 hours, I can name a few. I mean, anybody makes hasty decisions. We all do it. And for an established agent, beyond 6 months, we want to make sure that's a good decision. So what we're going to say is if you've been here longer than 6 months and you decide you want to become a team member and join a team, you can do that at any time. And when you do that, immediately your split will change to 80-20. However, your cap will not change. You will still have an $18,000 cap until your next anniversary date, your next rollover date. And it doesn't matter if that's a couple of months in the future or if that's 11 and a half months in the future. You're going to have to wait till that next anniversary date before you get a change in your cap. And then when that anniversary gets here, it's not going down to 4,500. It's only going to go down to 9,000. And you're going to have that for a full 12 months. And then on your next anniversary after that, then you're going to be at the 4,500. So again, we want to be reasonable. We want to have a win-win for everybody. But you know, in real estate agents, we kind of are notorious for being impulsive sometimes. And this is like slowing the process down. Okay. So, you know, this is kind of like, you know, we all want to take that magic pill, especially right after Christmas, after the holidays, that like 20 pounds will come off in a week. This is not that plan. I mean, this is like we're going to have to put some work into this to get the results we want. So you're not penalized. It's not punitive or anything like that, but there is a path to get there and you got to follow the path. Okay. Again, questions on that, throw it in the chat. Okay. Now, how do the teams in our office differ from one another? If you currently have a team or you're thinking about starting a team, this is a very important thing I want you to make sure you take away, okay? Because this is speaking mainly to you. But everybody else, if you're thinking about joining a team, I want you to notice also, but this is really for the rainmakers. Okay, the value proposition of an organization, doesn't matter what organization, any organization, is a list of competitive considerations which illustrates its ability to succeed in the marketplace. What we call, it's right there on the page, a value proposition. The value proposition, some people call it the value prop. And Keller Williams is getting really, really good, especially kind of all the new technology we've had. They're kind of using that to help really define and put this all in a bucket that we can kind of easily identify. And here's how they've identified teams and what the common value prop items are. First, it's going to be a person. So like earlier, I told you guys, you know, it's two people like each other. I mean, we're humans. I mean, it's usually going to happen like that. It's going to be the personality or just the human being that has that team. That's usually the first thing. You're going to, you know, if everything else is great, but the person, you don't like them, that's probably not a team you're going to join. So it usually starts with the person. Second, it's probably going to be some kind of training. And of course, Keller Williams has training, but also teams. They may have different things that they do. There may be paid training, extra training that might be outside of what we normally do that a team will support. I've done that with my team where like Keller Williams as a region will have different training classes and events and they may cost $200, $300, $500. And for some of my team members, I've written the check to send them to that because I felt that was important, that I was going to benefit, my team was going to benefit from them going to that. So there might be training, things like that. Next is going to be support. So going back to the charts we saw, the org charts, organizational chart we saw earlier with all the admin. I mean, imagine a team with an ISA that is setting appointments for me on day one, or that's like handling all of my DocuSign and opportunities. And like, you can say, I don't even know how that works because she's the one who handles all that. By the way, this guy right here, I've got somebody on my personal team and I've only touched that stuff because I've got to know it to teach you guys. But I got somebody who handles all of my opportunities and I have for like 9 years. And this is what's called a lucky guy right here, because I've had somebody who's nailed that for me and she likes doing it for some reason. You know, that's kind of weird too. So anyway, if you like doing things like that for people, that's great because there's somebody else who needs your talent and skills. So support usually comes in the form of a team. Number 4 would be leads, a team that has a ready, available, qualified leads to provide for the agents. And then really the 5th one, the highest and best, I tapped on it a couple of times, and that's appointments. If you've got a team that's setting appointments, not just giving you leads, but actually saying you walk in the morning or you get a ding on your phone or something and like you already know tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock whose house you're supposed to be at or where you're supposed to meet these buyers. You had to do nothing to set it up. You just are being told when and where. Bam, how awesome would that be? So those are kind of the big vision things right there about having a team of value props. And I'm going to be completely honest for a minute. I've evaluated teams at my previous market center. I've evaluated teams here. And I hate to say it, but like 100% of the teams I've evaluated, they can't identify what their value proposition is. I asked them, hey, what's your value proposition as a team? I'm a new agent or an experienced agent or an agent from another brokerage, and I was curious about your team. And I said, well, what makes your team more unique than that person's team over there? And if they can't just belt it out like that, there's a problem. Okay, so you got to know, if you've got a team, you got to know and be able to clearly articulate what your value proposition is. So I'm going to give you some tips here. And again, for those of you that are watching on Zoom, I'm so glad you're doing that. But for the folks I've got live, they actually get it on paper. They're going to get a handout right now. So everybody else, you can pull out your phone and take a screenshot of the screen if you want to. I'm going to just leave these up here for you guys in the room. And these right here, there are 16 different bullet points there. And this is kind of a working document I've used for several years. When I talked to, I told you earlier, this interview process. So if somebody comes to me and says, I want to start a team, let me just go and give you a heads up right now. We're going to look at this list or a list very similar to this, and I'm going to ask you a question. So sorry, Michelle, you're just right in front of me. I'm going to say, Michelle, looking at all these things, identify, if I was going to be on your team, what would be, let's just tell you the top three. Of looking at list, what are the top three items on there that you would say that I would be getting as an agent on your team? And then what would probably be the bottom three? Either three you don't offer at all, or if you do, you're not, that's just not really your strength, okay? And so I'm going to ask you as a team leader, a potential rainmaker, to help me understand what your value proposition is going to be. And then with this sheet of paper that the folks in the room are going to get, I'm going to encourage you to use that when you're interviewing agents on a very, almost like a screening, okay? Not even really an interview. Is when you're sitting down with somebody and you would say, hey, future team member, here's a list, 16 different items of value. I would like to know which three on here, like maybe draw a circle around the three that you would say would be most important to you, and maybe put an X by the three that are least important to you. And then you as the rainmaker, you're going to do the same. And what are you going to do? Y'all are going to look at your list. And you're just going to real quickly see, are we in alignment together? Because remember earlier I talked about you might have a team that insists, no exceptions, every weekend. But they got leads. Maybe they even set appointments for you. But you've got like 4 kids and they're all in different sports. And you're very active in your church. And you're like, okay, I know as an agent I work on weekends some, but I don't know about that. So that might be a deal breaker for you. Okay, so again, great questions to have up front so we don't get into a bad relationship as far as teams go. So you've got to know your value proposition. All right, a couple more slides. We're getting close to being finished here. What are common mistakes that agents make regarding teams? Okay, here we go. If you've got toes, you better raise them up because I'm about to step on them, okay? Everybody, here we are. Okay, a lot of people get on a team because they want to avoid lead generation. Now, remember earlier I said there are teams that provide leads, and that's a great thing. But you know our culture at Keller Williams. I would never want you to join a team to avoid lead generation. Now, that should be a supplement to what you're already doing, okay? They don't have realistic expectations. You know, and I know Liz can also probably testify to this, somebody who coaches new agents. By the way, this is not, like Liz and I did not prepare this ahead of time, so I'm going to put her on the spot though. So Liz, when you talk to a new agent, brand new to real estate, and there's one number I'm looking for, and I have a feeling you're going to say this. If you say, how much money do you want to make in your first year in real estate? What's the single most common answer you get? What do you know? And Michelle even kind of said it exactly the same thing, $100,000. Isn't that wild? Everybody has not $99,000, not $102,000, $100,000. Okay? Now, is it possible to make $100,000 your first year in business? Yes, of course it is. A lot of people do it. Does everybody make $100,000 their first year in business? No. In fact, I'll give you a little quick story. I'm a new agent. I'm about 3 months in the business. I'm in a classroom just like this. I was sitting in the back like Randy is, and the person who was leading the class asked that exact same question. And she had a whiteboard up here, and she went around the room, and there was about 6 or 7 people in the room. And she started with the first person and said, okay, how much do you want to make? 100,000. How much do you want to make? 100,000. And you know, everybody, and we're all brand new agents, by the way. We're all kind of like, this is kind of like our night class. We're all about the same amount of time in the business. And she goes, Chip, way back there in the back, how much is one of your first year in the business? And she started to write $100,000. And I go, $40,000. And she turned around and goes, really, $40,000? Okay, so she writes it up. And she goes, now I'm curious, Chip, I got to ask, why did you say $40,000? And I said, well, I've been thinking about it. You know, I've been in training here for a few months. I've been thinking about my database, thinking about my family and my time. And I mean, trust me, I would love to make 100,000. I'd love to make more. And I plan to do that in real estate. But if you're asking me my first year, I think $40,000 is a reasonable goal. Might even be a stretch. I don't know if I can quite make that, but I think that's a goal I feel comfortable with that I could shoot for. And she said, the instructor, she said, well, guys, what about anybody else? Tell me how you came up with your number. Like nobody had any kind of answer like I did. I mean, they were just like, well, just thought, you know, that's how much you'd make in real estate to get a nice car and buy a nice purse and have nice shoes and I don't know, $100,000. So thankfully no thought into it. But here's what I know happened, because when I said $40,000, everybody else in the room, you know what they did? They did this. As if to say, who's the loser in the back that's not going to keep up with the rest of us? Okay? Now, I was secure, didn't like hurt my feelings or anything, especially when I realized I actually put some thought into this thing before they had. Well, this is my go chip. Someone was the rookie of the year that year, and it was this guy right here. It was none of those other people. In fact, half of those people didn't even stay in business for a year. Now, I'm telling you that, and by the way, I did not make $40,000. I made $62,000, okay? So I blew past my goal. Well, yeah. But I didn't know. I had no idea. And like Liz, I mean, that's part of it. And by the way, this was our coach, by the way, who was leading the class. So again, when you're brand new, it is kind of like you're got a dart, you're like, ugh. And you got to be ready to adjust it sometimes. But I'm telling you that story, not to brag on myself, but it is kind of a cool story. I'm telling you that because when you have unrealistic expectations, like I want to make $100,000 and I want to work like 2.5 hours a day, and I'm brand new to real estate, and I just, don't want to work weekends, and I've been here 3 months and I made one post on social media, and I really don't like to talk on the phone that much, but I want to make $100,000. Yeah, I like houses. I don't really like people. So those are unrealistic expectations. So if you're joining a team because you think that team is going to solve all those issues, that may be unrealistic. Okay, also not teachable or coachable. If you resist accountability, teams may or may not be right for you. Big mistake, not asking enough questions. So hopefully one thing you've gotten out of our time today is I'm talking about having good conversations before you jump into this, just like dating and marriage, okay? So let's ask a lot of good questions up front. Another one is they don't think like a CEO. So even if you're on a team, I often say agents tend to have one of two mindsets, an employee mindset or an entrepreneurial mindset. Now, I wish we all had entrepreneurial mindsets. Really, everybody thinks they do pretty much. They get into real estate. A few very honest people will say, I admit it, I've got an employee mindset. And those are the people, usually they're the ones that say, yep, just put me behind a computer screen and they might be administrative time. They might be the people who just say, just tell me what to do and I will give you my all from 8 to 5 all day long, and that's great because we need those people. But we're all business owners as real estate agents. We're not just salespeople, we're business owners. So you got to think like a CEO. Even if you're on a team, it doesn't mean you're an employee of the team. You're still the CEO of your business. And so you got to think like that for yourself, but then you also need to think about the rainmaker whose team you're on to help you understand maybe some of the decisions they're making, good or bad, are they making them like a CEO as well? They're unwilling to pay their dues. And I'm not talking about Metrotech's dues. I'm talking about just their life dues. I mean, I was talking to somebody last week, and her goal is to be a MAPS coach and to be a KWU master faculty instructor. And those are great goals. This person has not started real estate. They have not started classes yet. And so she's got some very big goals, and I'm proud of her, and I'm like encouraging her all the way, but I'm like, that is all great. That's all she wanted to talk about. And I said, okay, that's awesome. I love, because I hardly ever talk about that with a new agent or even somebody who's not even licensed yet. However, we got to go sell some houses first. We got to go get some street cred before we can start talking about that. So anyway, so that's important to pay your dues. If you only see things from your point of view, that's important. If you're not honest with yourself, that's going to be a challenge. And finally, the last one, yep, I'm telling you right there, you might need to find a new career. Real estate may not be your thing, and that's okay. A lot of people get into this business and they find out, that's not what I thought it was going to be. No problem, okay? All right, so we're almost done here. If I'm interested in joining a team, what's the next step? Hey, you're going to sit down and talk with me, okay? So you know where to find me. We're going to sit down and have a short little chat, and we're going to try to get you plugged into the right team, give you some options so we can find the right fit for you, okay? All right, so let's cover what we've covered, everything we went over today. We talked about why would an agent join a team? Why would you why would you create a team? Why would you join a team? Should I consider joining a team? How are we different here? We're unique. How do our teams differ from one another? Common mistakes. And if I'm interested in joining a team, what's next? Okay, so guys, great energy here in the room. Let's see, I'm trying to make sure, where is my Zoom? A little stop share. Yeah, I know, nothing's popping up here. Let's see, let's do it this way. Maybe I'm in a PowerPoint. Say it again. I don't know where my, let's see, let's go to, okay, here we go. Meeting controls. Sorry, y'all. See, this is the Zoom fun we're having. Okay, we got that. I got another window here. Meeting controls is not popping up. Right here. Mm-hmm. Well, it's usually in the middle of my screen. Let's see what happens if I do this. Christy, would you mind? Because it's not sharing my screen. Or is it? Well, I had it on share screen for the slideshow. See, I was trying to get to that right there. I don't know why that's just floating there. Man, it's like I got down to the 2-yard line and fumbled the ball. I'm sorry, you guys. Weird things are happening.
Yes. I don't know how to get that up there.
Okay, let's just minimize everything. This is the craziest thing. Hey, Tammy or Ashley, are y'all still with us, by the way?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, now what can you see on the screen? Are you seeing a slideshow or are you just seeing all the people's faces?
Just the slideshow. Let's recap.
You're seeing the slideshow.
Yeah, I can see it too.
That's what y'all are seeing. Well, gosh, y'all, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to get to chat. Can y'all see chat where y'all are at? Can anybody see the chat questions?
I can go
Okay.
to chat.
All right. Okay, I have no idea what is going on. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll just finish out this way. So I can't see chat on my screen. So,
I'm the only one who said good class not to go to bullpen.
oh, well, thank you, Dion. Thank you. I saw you on here a few minutes ago. Thank you so much. Hey, no questions. That's easy. You just tell me how good I did. I'll take that. Okay. So, yeah, and it looks like our class might have dwindled a little bit from our participants. Anyone in the room have a question? Liz has a question.
So the only element that we didn't talk about is what's typical split with a rainmaker?
Great question. So typical split with a rainmaker. And typical, I mean, that really it kind of, we talked earlier about the value proposition. It's really going to depend on what your value proposition is. You know, in the model, like the traditional model, it was typically a 50-50, but there's a lot of different variables that go into that. Remember you saw as the chart I was showing, the organizational chart with all the different circles and stuff. As that changes, people that are going to be on that team, those splits are going to change. Like, for example, I told you if I moved to Florida and joined a team that like not only gave me leads, but had appointments on my calendar, and I just woke up in the morning and looked at my calendar and just told me these are the 3 places I need to be today, I would love a 50% split, but I don't think they would be giving me 50% for that. You know, I would probably, and I don't know the market in Florida, but you know, I would bet that's probably like a 25 or maybe 30%, you know, because other people had to go into the process. Because remember the team, the big restaurant, you know, we're going to Chewy's and all the people that helped out. So like when you paid, if Michelle and I went to lunch today at Chewy's, and let's say our bill was, say we $50 for lunch. Let's say we had a good lunch, okay? So, you know, that $50 has to cover a lot, it has to go a lot of different places. You know, it has to cover a little piece of that has to go to 10 different people that went into our dinner experience or lunch experience. So, so splits are really going to vary based on what your value proposition are. So that's one of those things in that consultation when you sit down with me and we talk about what you need and what you're looking for. I can give you some accurate expectations. I will throw out a couple of things for you right now, or actually more than a couple. I'm taking notes. This is not in the presentation, but this is what I see most often. And I'm not going to give you specific numbers, but I'm going to give you specific reasons or considerations for a split. So usually most often, number one is going to be who generated the lead. What is the origin of the lead? Did you as the team member create that lead? I mean, is it somebody from your sphere or somebody you got at an open house or you created that, or did that come through the team? So number one is usually the origin of the lead. Number two might be buyer versus seller. Because some teams are going to say, well, you're going to start off as a buyer's agent, only working with buyers. Some teams may say, well, no, you can work buyers and sellers. Well, if I've got, like, I'll just tell you my personal example. On my team, if I've got an agent working buyers and sellers, if they bring a listing to the team, and by the way, this is also, every team's going to be different on what expenses they might cover. I'll just use mine as an example. I cover just about every expense possible, as far as marketing, yard signs, supras, all that stuff. So an agent joins my team and they get a listing. They don't have to pay for all those hard costs to go into having that listing. And I've also got to pay a human being to get all the information in MLS. I pay for the photographer. I used to say, we don't do write checks like we usually say. As soon as I get a new listing, I'm writing checks immediately as the team lead. Okay, so right off the bat, I've got some financial cost that's going into this as the rainmaker. If that same agent brings a buyer to the team, what is my cost? Well, my cost is very little. Actually, the cost is really the buyer's agent's time and gasoline. That's about it, and that's on that agent. So if you're on my team, our splits are going to be different whether if you bring a listing or a buyer. Okay, so that might be another consideration if you've got agents working both sides. The third one I would say would probably be experience. If I've got an agent that's new to the business, there's going to be a lot of attention and oversight and questions, and they're going to need a lot more hand-holding until we get to a certain point. And it might be, like, say, after we get 10 transactions under our belt or 15 or whatever number you feel comfortable with. Versus if I recruit an agent, like again, I'll use my team as an example. I've got an agent on my team that's been in the business 20 years. So in fact, it's ironic. Like 3 minutes before we started the class, she texted me and asked me if I had a minute to talk. And I said, I can call you in a couple hours. You know how many times she texts me with questions like that? About once a quarter. About once every 3 months, she reaches out to me for a question like that. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but that's what you get when you have somebody that's been in the business 20 years. If that was a new agent on my team, and by the way, I've got somebody else who handles those questions typically, but if a new agent, I mean, they've got that happens like 3 times an hour. You get questions like that, where they're going to have questions. So again, the splits are going to be different from somebody who's more seasoned versus somebody who's newer in the business. And finally, the fourth consideration, and rainmakers, you may not like me for saying this because a lot of teams don't agree with this, but for my team, this is something I've done for retention purposes, and that is the price point of the transaction, the cost, the sale of the house, the property, the sales price. And I'll just, as an easy example, let's say Michelle is on my team, and let's say her average sales price is $250,000. Okay, you're disappointed?
You don't think that
No, we're getting there. Just be patient. Let me finish the story.
Okay.
I see I've already offended her. Okay. So let's say 250 is kind of her average because she's brand new. She's brand new. Okay. First year in the business. And so, that's kind of what she's used to. And she gets value from being on my team because I pay for things. I provide support for things and all that. And then let's say she gets out of the blue $1 million buyer or seller. Now, Michelle's happy and excited. I mean, we're all happy and excited for a sales price like that, but she's even more excited because it's way higher than her average, okay? Now, as her rainmaker, as her team lead, do I want her to get more of that? Yes, I want to incentivize her as best I can. Now, I'm going to provide her support and help and hard costs and stuff. I'm going to do that for when she does a 250 transaction, and I'm going to do that for $1 million transaction. However, assuming we're talking 3% commission or the same commission across the board, on the $1 million transaction, the commission check is going to be 4 times as much. Now, as a rainmaker, I've got to ask myself, can I look myself in the mirror and say, I know I delivered at least 4 times as much value to Michelle on that. Now, if you can say that with a straight face, I'd like to know who you are, because no, I know that's not the fact. I know I'm giving her support and help, but at the same time, I'm not giving her 4 times as much. Now, I could be like thinking only of myself and go, well, Michelle should be happy. She's going to get a commission check that's 4 times as large as it normally is. And darn it, I should too. But you know what? They used to have this thing called green sheets. I know now we use commissions, and this is how I got burned on this once. This is what got my wheels turning several years ago, is an agent on your team, when they would look at the commissions or the green sheet, Michelle, she would look down and maybe she'd go, and she'd get excited because this is like her first check she's ever had that's like gone into 5 digits, like $10,000 or more. And she's so excited. And then her eyes like go like a half inch over there. And then she looks at what I'm making. And she's like, oh, look at how much Chip's making off of this. Not fair. And so those were some of the early seeds that were planted with me. I thought to myself, okay, so if she does 4 times as much on one transaction, it's reasonable that I would make more money on that, but maybe not 4 times as much. Maybe I'm starting to get kind of greedy there. So my team, and again, this is just me, I put in a provision within our team agreement that when your price point gets to a certain level and you generate the lead, by the way, that's important, it's your lead, not my lead, then you're going to get paid very well for that. Because what I want, this is why I say it's a retention piece, I want that agent to be so stoked they made that huge check, and they look over at my side and they go, well, Chip made a little more, but man, look what I made and all the value I get from being on the team. I want to go do that. In fact, I want to do that on every single deal because I want the team members that are good to be happy with my team and to want to stay and just to keep doing those higher price points over and over. So those are the 4 considerations. So that's a long answer for you, Liz. I didn't give you specific numbers, but again, everyone's numbers are going to be, every team is going to have a different, because their value proposition is going to be different. Their actual numbers are going to be a little different. Anybody else with a question? I'll be brief because we're running a little on time. So Liz got the long answer for that one. Okay, guys, so hey, all you Zoomers out there, there's only a few of you left. I am so sorry. I don't know why Zoom, maybe the internet is, breaking today or something. But anyway, I think you can still hear me and all's good there. So, but I guess you're still looking at the PowerPoint. Thank you guys so much. Oh, I just had an idea. I wonder if I close out the PowerPoint. I wonder if that would do it. Let's just close that down.
How many teams do we have?
Oh, dang, y'all. Why didn't I think of that? God, Christy, you're supposed to be smarter than me, Christy. You're supposed to know these things. Okay, no, that just popped in my head. I thought, I think it's still on, anyway, never mind. Anyway, okay.
It's all good.
Oh, was that Ashley? I don't know who that was, but thank you for thanking me. Thank you. Michelle asked me how many teams we have here at the office. We don't have 61 teams or 75 teams. And by the way, that's not a problem because it's scalable. It's a different size office. We're not into double digits yet on our team. We're close. But here's another reason. So again, I'm not pro-team, anti-team, but I do feel like there's an opportunity for more of our agents to succeed if they team together, work together. We can, team together, everyone achieves more. I think there's more that could be happening with our teams than what we're doing right now in terms of everybody's production. Quite honestly, another thing, I recruit. That's a big part of my job. And when I'm talking to agents at other brokerages, one of the cool things I could do when I had 75 teams or so is if I was talking to somebody and it seemed like a team would be a good option for them, I would say, I've got some great teams at my market center, my office, and let's just get you on board, get you started, and we'll find the right team that fits for you. I mean, you got 75 of them. I don't know which one it'll be, but I've got one for you. It's a little harder to say that when I got 8 teams. I'm sure we can find the right one for you. So I can do it, but I'd love to have more teams, more options, more recruiting, more profit share for all of us. So see, it all kind of ties together on why I'm not saying this is the right fit for everyone, but I think it's a very good alternative for a lot of our agents to possibly consider. So anyway, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys on Zoom. I'm sorry about the last 10 minutes or so. I didn't figure out the PowerPoint issue there. But going forward now, this is the first class post, nuclear lockdown we've had. So pretty much every class in the foreseeable future, we're going to Zoom it. We're going to live it. There's a lot of food left over here. There's more than I can eat. And in fact, there were some of the vultures. I saw them walking by a few minutes ago, sticking their head in the window. This was a good idea to have her put this in here, so make sure everybody was fed, and they can get it now or later. But anyway, if you live nearby, there's a lot of food up here if you want to get on up here. That's cool. Okay, you guys have a great day. Thanks for being on the Zoom, and I will see y'all soon. Okay, thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Chip.
Bye. Thank you.